Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Mark Wiley. I'm CEO of Flagship Solutions Group. Just a few housekeeping things. We are going to be recording this call, so just so you know that. Also, there will be time for Q&A at the end, but please feel free to type in the chat area at any time during the call if there's questions that you have or whatever, and we'll queue those up and we'll ask them at the end. And really what we wanted to try to do today is provide a quick overview of what we know now based on the HCL acquisition of IBM software and how Flagship can help and some resources to go to. So just real quick, Flagship Solutions Group, we provide hardware and software integrated solutions. We provide managed services around those solutions and for customers moving to the cloud. And specifically today, what we want to talk about is the managed services around software licensing and maintenance. One slide that we show in every presentation because we think it's important from a customer perspective that they know who we are. And very candidly, what we want to try to do is have a match up in terms of customer values and what is important to Flagship as well. Just a real quick show of the partnerships that we have. Flagship, we provide ourselves in having key partnerships. As you'll see, there's not 100 logos on this chart, and we really do our best to team with quality companies. Obviously, HCL is one of those. Our intent today is to help provide some answers and solutions around these questions that we've got here. If you're an end user customer or with HCL and looking to work with a company that can support your needs and your clients' needs, Flagship is there to be able to help. A couple of slides just about HCL. There was a conference call, webinar that HCL hosted, and we wanted to provide sort of a recap of that call. As you can see, there's a fairly brief overview about HCL and improvements that they've made, both as a company and also specifically as it relates to BigFix and the acquisition from IBM. In addition, this is the update that was provided around BigFix version 10, around multi-cloud support, agent lists for modern endpoints, and some additional advanced reporting. Flagship, we've provided BigFix as a service ourselves since before IBM acquired them. As you can see in this chart here, this is really an overview of what Flagship focuses on. We have three key areas. What we call traditional sales, which is really what people think more of your hardware and software integrated solutions. Managed services piece, which is the middle block, and then software solutions, where we're providing software solutions as a service to customers. The one that we're focusing on today is in the middle and it's bolded. It's around hardware, software support, both the contract management piece as well as the software licenses. Like I said before, we've provided BigFix as a service prior to IBM even acquiring BigFix. So we have a long history with with BigFix, both pre and post IBM. One of the things that we also do that we offer is our go-to-market from day one has really been an assessment methodology. So we can come in, help assess all of the software that you have in the licenses to keep you compliant, as well as discovering the hardware so that we can come back and provide an overall view of all of your licensing and maintenance. So while today we're specific on the HCL move of software, we can provide more than just that. As I mentioned, and I've said this a couple times, that we've worked with BigFix prior. We also provide as a service to a lot of customers BigFix. So from that perspective, we can help. And then finally, we can also work with HCL. One of the areas that they talked about in the webinar and in previous conversations we've had is we can work with them to organize boot camps in different areas to be able to help drive additional learning and awareness around the product. Now, specifics around what Flagship offers around the managed maintenance. You can see here we really try to automate it. Again, the first thing we do is analyze what all you have and be able to try to get the number of agreements and their contracts down to the smallest number that we can. you'll see the dedicated portal in a couple of slides. I've asked Claire to give a demo so that you can see some of the functionality of the portal that we have. From a flagship perspective, a couple of years ago, a few years ago actually, we trademarked this Infolytics approach. And basically, it's infrastructure plus analytics equals Infolytics. And in this example, the infrastructure that people are looking at or concerned about is their software infrastructure as it relates to BigFix and AppScan, and again, quite frankly, any other software. But we provide a real-time dashboard so that at any point in time, 24/7, you as an end user, or for that matter, as an HCL seller, would look at the customers that we have that we're working with you on, and or the individual customer, obviously providing they give us approval for other people than just them to view their inventory, but we have that ability. So at this point, what I would like to do is go forward in the slide deck to have Claire take over and show you just real briefly the portal, the way that we track hardware and software assets, some of the reporting capabilities, and the notifications and alerts around that. So Claire, you take over.
Thanks, Mark. Hopefully everybody's now seeing the actual portal up on the screen. The portal is designed, and we're going to take just a very brief tour through the portal today. We're going to really just concentrate on 3 key areas where you would find value and information. The areas we're going to focus on today are going to be the dashboard, the section called editors, and a section called reports, which we'll also talk about a way to create notifications and custom reports. So the portal itself is designed to be agnostic. So even though today we're really talking about BigFix and the HCL acquisition of the BigFix software, the system itself can house any software and any hardware, as well as their associated contracts and services. Every user starts off at the dashboard. When you log in, you will come to the dashboard, and the dashboard's designed in 3 sections. This top section is really a call out of actionable data. This is telling you specifically information that is coming up in the next 90 days. So data that requires action, whether it's expiring contracts, expiring billing terms, warranty expiration, license expiration, skewed service expiration. It would show up here within the section. When you hover over, you're going to see that you can drill into the information by either viewing, exporting to Excel, emailing, or printing. The system is designed that 90 days prior to any contract expiration, license expiration, or service expiration, that it will send out a proactive notification to whoever within your organization you want to receive that. So again, it's 2 different ways for our system to let you know that you have an action coming up. The second section is really what data you have access to. And you can both expand and collapse these widgets so that you can see how many active contracts are in the system, how many active hardware assets, software assets, and you can even see your user adoption, who's coming into the system. You can see how many of your contracts or how many of your assets are covered, how many are exposed. Exposure has potential risk or liability. And the same thing with your active software and how many licenses. So the difference between a software line item and a license is going to be a quantity. You may only have a license in the system one time, but the quantity will drive how many active licenses there are. And again, you see those same view, export, email, or print functionalities. And the last section that we're going to focus on the dashboard is what I call the analytics section. And this is where you start to see graphical representation of a lot of the same information as above. But you can start to see your asset count by coverage status, by platform, by manufacturer. You can see the top renewals coming up within the next 90 days. If you want more information about the contract renewal, you simply click in. It will take you behind the scenes. You will be able to see the contract information, including your start dates and end dates, as well as the line items or services associated to those contracts. If you want more information, again, you can simply drill down to the contract or to the line item level to see more information, including your level of service for this particular charge type, which would be hardware maintenance in this particular, as well as when the charges start and stop. And then finally on the dashboard, you also have the ability to have custom graphs and create your own graphs to drive them into the dashboard. So these are things that you may want to be tracking yourself. I've created a graph specifically around Passport Advantage. Again, this was back before the time of BigFix and the sell-off, but where companies could see how much of their software, specifically when it came to Passport Advantage, was security, BigFix, and security systems, and be able to have that representation. So the second section that we will go to is the editor section. Today, since we are focused specifically on the BigFix, we will go to the software assets. The editor section is just a listing in a specific table. This is a great place to come so that you can view all of the basic information about the data or about what's in the system. This is a great place to come in and do advanced searches and searches to find exactly what you're looking for. All of our columns are laid out the same, and every user has the ability to customize the view so that it's exactly what is important to them. So they can pick and choose what columns show and what columns don't. Likewise, they can move items around by simply dragging and dropping. You also can sort both ascending and descending. If you were looking specifically for just, for instance, BigFix, very simple to do a simple search. The system will automatically bring back any place within that data table where it sees that string of characters. Again, in this case, we looked specifically for BigFix. And if you wanted more information about that BigFix particular grouping of licenses, you can simply drill in and you can see more information about this particular software. If you needed to get more granular in your searching, you also have advanced search capability. So the ability to create an advanced search by selecting multiple criteria, as well as multiple constraints within the criteria. You also have the ability to save your searches. So if there are searches that you run over and over again, you can simply save those searches and then come in and select a save search. All of our grids have the ability to do that export, email, and print functionality as well. And then lastly, we're just going to touch very briefly on the reports functionality. Reports, similar to your editors or your grids, are going to be laid out in those same similar edits or grids. And I've created a custom report that is specific to the Passport, or actually this one is all of the actual software. But what's different with reports is the ability to create your own. So you can simply clone a report. You can select what columns you want to see in your report. You can even add your own variables or conditional fields to create that report. And then you can save that report so that you can run it over and over again. The beauty with reports is you also have the ability to share reports. So you can share them with other people within your organization, allowing them then to see custom reports that you have created and shared so that they don't have to go in and create the same report. As well as you can create your own notification. Notifications allow you to create any report do what I call set it and forget it. You can create a report and have that report generated once a week, once a month, once a quarter, once a year, and land in your inbox or in your colleagues' inboxes at any given time frame again, by simply selecting the report that you want to use, selecting a template to apply to it, a start date of when you want the first one to be received. You can send it only once if you'd like. However, you also have the ability to say, like I said, once per week, once per month, quarter, or year. You can provide a short description, and then you can click Save and Share the notification, and that will then save the notification and then send it out to whomever you have selected to share it with on whatever time frame you've shared it with them. Again, anywhere that you see the drill downs or the magnifying glasses, you can simply drill into the information, which will take you behind the scenes so that you can see more information about that. Likewise, you also have the ability to house documents in the system at the contract level and at the asset level. Again, this was just a very brief tour. We would be more than happy to do a more extensive tour of the system and talk more specifically about some of the challenges that you face when it comes to your asset contract and license management. You would just reach out to your Flagship sales team and request that demo, and we can take you through the portal in more detail. So Mark, if you want to take it back over.
Yep. There we go. All right, sounds good. And as Claire mentioned, thank you, Claire, that was great. And as she mentioned, if you would like to have a more in-depth conversation and demo, we can do that. The other thing I do want to mention is that the other way that Flagship works is you can do as little or as much of that configuration as you want, meaning that if you said, these are the reports that I want to see, and I want them set up at this time, we would take care of getting that done versus somebody, either you or your team or your end user customer having to do that. So again, back to what we provide as a service. Just a couple more slides here to take you through. Really in ending the presentation part, why Flagship? Again, we believe in building long-term relationships with customers. We work with world-class suppliers to be able to get things done. As I mentioned before, our intent is to make it as simple as possible, so you can do as much or as little, if you will, as you want. The assessment methodology helps us really understand the overall picture. And again, we're there to support you based on what you need. In terms of resources and where to go to, here's some BigFix HCL resources where you can go. We will send out after this broadcast to people that have attended an email with some links so that you have the ability to reach out either to HCL or to Flagship to get done what you want. And again, Flagship, here's a couple of contacts for us, and we'll be sending out information afterwards so that we can help follow up with you. At this point in time, what I'd like to do is I'm going to stop the recording and then also open it up for questions and answers.